This webinar series is sponsored by ScreenBeam Wireless Display Solutions. ScreenBeam is the #1 wireless display solution for classrooms, conference rooms, and collaboration around the world. We offer a touchless solution to today's too much touch environment. It's a safer solution for connecting, but more importantly, we offer the teacher or presenter the ability to be untethered from cables and connectors while sharing their lessons, stories, digital content, and more. If you'd like more information about how to implement a truly modern classroom space, please contact us at screenbeam.com for a free trial device or for a consultation about reverse engineering the modern classroom or really understanding the true cost of the modern classroom. We'll have some contact information for you at the end of the call. Please feel free to reach out anytime you'd like to. I'd also like to introduce, if you don't already know, about Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence. Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that has been serving schools across the nation since 2001. They are passionate about education and want schools to be the very best for students. The Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence one-of-a-kind assessment survey provides actionable insights that can be used as a starting point for school improvement. Their comprehensive approach to helping schools includes professional development support, best practice sharing, conferences, and networking. They do everything possible to create a path forward for all schools and students. We have some exciting things to share about the Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence, and ScreenBeam is happy to partner with them this year as well on their national conference. So once again, please do not leave at the end of the session today. Stick around for just a few announcements about that, and we'd love for you to be able to take part in that conference as well. And now for our speaker, Dr. Ross. Dr. Ross, so the information that we got, I thought was a really great quote. It says, he flunked the 3rd grade, now he's the best high school principal in the nation. This was the headline from the local newspaper after he was announced as the National Principal of the Year. Dr. Akil Ross's story is a testimony of the power of education has to transform a struggling student into a high-performing student. He teaches strategies for empowering students. As a high school principal, Dr. Ross received many awards and recognitions, the Palmetto's Finest Award, Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence, Lighthouse Award, several national rankings in academics from Newsweek, Niche, Washington Post, and U.S. News and World Report. His school earned 20 state championships in 8 years, 14 state championships in athletics, 4 state championships in marching band, and 2 Naval Junior ROTC state championships, including 1 national championship. As Principal of the Year, Principal of Chapin High School, Dr. Ross was named the 2017 South Carolina Secondary Principal of the Year and the 2018 National Principal of the Year. He was featured in the state newspaper 20 Under 40 Class of 2017, Principal Leadership Magazine, the Rotarian Magazine, and Columbia Business Monthly 50 Most Influential 2018. Dr. Ross is currently an adjunct professor of educational leadership at the University of South Carolina and is the author of the book Empowering the Heart. He started Heart Ed LLC to share strategies to further his vision of a future where every community empowers every child. And Dr. Ross, if you want to go ahead and start your screen sharing right now, we will get you started. And on a personal note, it has been great to be able to hear from Dr. Ross, be able to talk to him. And if anything is like, if his talk today is anything like what our conversations have been, you're going to in for a real treat. So let me get your camera on here in just a second and make sure. Give me 1 second. Come on. There we go. And now, there we go. Now I got your camera up so everybody can see this. Thank you, Dr. Ross. Take it away.
David, thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you to ScreenBeam for what you all are doing to support Blue Ribbon Schools. We really appreciate it. The network that has been created through Blue Ribbon with COVID presented a challenge to continue that going, but you all stepped in and filled that void, and that really makes a difference for us. But today, I'd like to talk on the theme of motivating teachers, and that's finding that passion and power to teach. And with so many changes, this picture indicates kind of what's the differences from whether you're face-to-face or fully online, or you're doing some kind of hybrid. Our teachers are facing challenges, and I see more and more as I visit with schools and work with administrators on losing that passion and just that power to teach. And I'm reminded of a poem, I love poetry, by Rudyard Kipling. It says, "No written word nor spoken plea can teach young minds who they should be. Know all the books on all the shelves, but what the teachers are themselves." And it's that it's that understanding, that poem that really reflects heavily on just what we want to see in our teachers and in our schools. Forgive me, let me get the right PowerPoint up here. And so I want to talk a little bit about today. David, can you still see me?
I can see you, but I can't share your screen. Reshare your screen one more time.
Okay, yeah, I was losing the ability to advance the screen here.
Okay, let's try sharing one more time.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're good there. All right, there we go. And so I would like for our listeners to just think about one question as I visit with our teachers. I ask them this question, and that's, why do you teach? And I think sometimes we don't go back to that. We don't think about that. We may not, we have the accountability manual kind of lead us through the work or just our daily lessons. But I ask teachers, why do you teach? Not with the vision or mission statement of the particular district that you're in or the school, but your personal why. And so I sat down with my faculty, the first meeting I had with them, and I asked each one of them to write down their why they teach, their why statement. And we collected all of those statements and we put them into this word cloud. And you're familiar with the word cloud, the things that appear very large. Those are things that are said very often, but the things that are small are not said as frequently. And this was the response. And it had been very clear, what in just one picture, what our faculty believe, their why, their sense of motivation. And what's interesting is that students became everybody had that in their statement. And then the question is, what are we going to do with the students? And so we said, well, we're here to prepare the students. Prepare them for what? Life. What kind of life? A productive life. And just notice in that, graduation rates wasn't mentioned, scholarship totals weren't mentioned, test scores weren't mentioned, all of the things that we were measuring the school by, this wasn't their why. Their why was a child prepared for a productive life. And we made it that mission right then and there that our why was going to be our work. Our why was going to be our work. And our why was that we prepare all students for productive lives. So every decision that we made, every initiative that we took on, people that we brought into the school, the work that we did was all geared to, will this prepare my child for a productive life? Will they have the skills necessary to be successful? But the reality is, when you lose sight of your why, you're in the dark. And to be in the dark is when we lose energy. We're out of fear. We're lost. And that is in that situation, that condition, that we lose a lot of power. Power is very important to me. Power is, as a social scientist, I study its roots, and I realized two things, that there's only really two ways you look at power, and I can prove it to you right now. Just this image, how you conceptualize this image tells me a lot about how you conceptualize power, how you conceptualize energy. And some of you, when you're driving along, you're glancing down at this image constantly in your car, and as soon as the needle gets to that yellow zone, you start to panic. You say to yourself, "Oh no, this is not good. I only have half a tank of fuel, only half a tank of power." You pull over, you get gas. You will never allow the tank to get into the yellow zone, because you're thinking ahead. You're thinking about preserving power and keeping power, and you think about the detours in life. You think about being stuck and stranded in traffic, you will always keep your tank full. And I salute you. I am very encouraged by folks of that nature, because the other type of person is this person. These are the people that, you ever get in the car with a person like this, they'll look you dead in the eye and say, I know my car. We can get there and back, on the same, we're good. And it's not that these people are not thinking about power. It's just that they have so many other things of where they're going, their destination, their daily moves. And so they have been enabled. Let's be honest with it. Technology has enabled these people. We have in the car this thing called range. And it'll say, you have 10 miles to empty. And you know that the filling station is 5 miles away, you're good. You're just cruising on along. But what if those numbers are reversed? You see, I've been there. And you may not have, because I'm one of these people. I'm one of these people who lose track of power, who lose track of how much fuel is in the tank. And I see the sign says, you have 10 miles to the next refueling station, but I have 5 miles to empty. See, when you're in that situation, you turn everything but the engine off. You don't need the air conditioning anymore. You turn the radio off. You roll down the windows. Maybe the wind can help your car. You are 10 and 2, and you are focused, sweating and nervous. And I'm looking there, and I'm just trying to hope and pray that the gas station marquee will come up over the horizon. And I found myself saying, if I could just make it to that, if I can, then I'll be all right. If I can, and I hear myself, I said, you know what? I hear this a lot. And it's not because I'm always riding around on E looking for a gas station. It's that when I'm in my school, I hear my teacher say, you know what, if I can just make it to the Thanksgiving break. We just started school. If I can just make it to spring break. If I can just make it to the end of the year, if I can just make it till Friday. I'm hearing that if I can just make it, then I'll be all right. These if-then statements are coming out of the mouths of my teachers year in and year out. And I said, my English teacher said, Dr. Ross, that's a conditional statement. You being okay is dependent on you making it. Science teacher says that's a hypothesis. It has to be proven. And for a lot of our teachers, it is not proven to be true. Them being okay is not happening. And even prior to COVID, there was a condition where our teachers were losing sight. We're not being filled. We're teaching blind. We're away from their why. And I believe that has a direct impact on our children. A lot of our children are away from their why. A lot of our children don't see how to fill their tank. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the American classroom. When I read in a Times Magazine article in 2016 that 6.3 million teenagers were diagnosed with anxiety or depression, I said, well, not only are my teachers running on E, so are my students. Now, for those of you who keep your tank full, I salute you. But some of you out there know what it feels like to ride on emotional E. And so I would like, in just a little time that I have with you, just to talk briefly about strategies and conditions that we can create for our students and our teachers as school leaders to ensure that our people are empowered. And I believe that a focus on our vision can spark our work, our mission. So I created this notion of the heart empowerment model, that keeping understanding of passion, that inside of every person there is a passion, and seeing their why that fuels you, that your work that you do can fill your tank, and that can power outcomes that we look for. So I know this model looks very complicated, so I want to just focus in on two parts, the vision and the mission. Vision being why we do our work, mission how we do our work. And it's in that that I like to just kind of focus in on how we should educate. See, when you look at the word educate, sometimes you forget that there's two definitions. See, educate comes from the Latin educare, which means to train up. We're familiar with that. We know about the training that schools should do. I suggest that schools should train on mind, body, and spirit. There should be a curriculum for all three. There should be instruction and teaching and learning in all three domains. But we're pretty familiar with the academics, the athletics, and the social emotional training that we should do. But there's another definition for education, and that definition is educere, which means to lead out. I believe, as Peter believed, that in the hearts of every person there is a gift. And it's our job as educators to pull that gift out, to lead that gift out, to help bring that gift out in every child. And so how do we do that? Well, as a professor, I have to go to the literature. Well, adjunct professor, but I still have to go to the literature. And so I look at the work of Dr. Alfred Adler. Some of you know him, but for those who don't, he was a contemporary of Freud, but he pulled away. He thought about there was a deeper sense of meaning that drove people. He was a teacher of Abraham Maslow. He was cited in Martin Luther King Jr.'s last speech at the 16th Street Baptist Church called The Drum Major Instinct, where Martin Luther King talked about people's why. It's in his work that we find human conditioning and motivation. And what Adler says is that there is a potential power in every child. And the art of teaching is allowing them to experience that power. And what's amazing is that when a teacher frees and allows a child to experience that power, that in turn empowers them. But they must be put in that position. They must be every day allowed to empower others. And that is why I focus in my book on the 4 heart needs, the 4 things that need to be to be met, the 4 conditions that we need to set up for our classroom, for our teachers, to allow every child to have a full tank, which will then allow every teacher to have a full tank. So at a quarter tank, I call it how we provide for our students. What are those base necessities that we provide? Does everyone get the same curriculum, or do we provide a tailored curriculum that's based on the whys of their needs? How we measure our students. Does everyone get the same measurement of success, or is there growth metrics that we can place that will inspire students who are behind to give them the confidence to compete and to catch up? How we teach our students. As David mentioned in the intro, I failed the 3rd grade. And statistically, students who are not proficient in the 3rd grade are 4 times likely more likely not to graduate from high school on time than their proficient reading peers. 16 times more likely to end up in the prison system than the proficient reading peers. So much so is this correlation that there was a rumor that we built prison cells based on 3rd grade reading rates. But it was how I was taught differently based on my individual needs that allowed me to grow. Well, we don't have a lot of time today, and I will talk about this at the conference, but for today, I just want to focus in on what it looks like at the full tank. For the time I have with you, I want to talk about what it takes to get the needle to full, and that's how we empower our students. These 4 heart needs are the conditions that need to be met in every single classroom. To relay that why for that parent, to relay that why for that teacher, and to relay that why for that student. It was so important, these heart needs, that for my entire student body, I told them, I said, yes, your mascot is the eagle, your logo is the eagle talon, but our heart is going to be the central theme of what we do. And I put all 1,400 of them on the field, and I told them that we are here to empower your hearts. Hearts were placed all over the building. And so we had this central theme of one heartbeat. We're 1,000 passions. You may have 1,000 different gifts, but we all have one heartbeat. And it was that heartbeat that connected us together. It was that heartbeat that was signaling the reason that you can be empowered, your why, your passion. And so I'd like to introduce the work that I was able to do, writing about empowering the heart, those specific skills that we take as educators, not only to revive our students, to revive us, to renew us. I like the symbol of the stethoscope there because it reminds us that on the inside, it's not on some distant horizon looking for the gas station to be refueled. It's on the inside that our refueling comes. But if we're cut off and disconnected from the refueling pump on the inside, then we will lose our power. And so when I told our students about the heartbeat, and 1,400 students go boom, 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 and you hear them in that steady percussion, letting them know that that they may be different. They may be from different parts of the town. They may have different color skins and different genders and different identities and different things. But there's one thing that we're sure that we all have in common, and that's we have one heartbeat. And I call that sound, that percussion, that steady percussion that they would do over and over again, I called it the EKG. And what does that mean? It means an empowered student is someone who K, knows their gift, and G, can give their gift. That sometimes, if you look at what's wrong about you, you will find more. But if you just take the time for every child to ask them what their gift is, what's right about them, and to harp it on what's right about them, the good things that they're able to do. It's amazing how that can transform a child when they know what their gift is. I wanted to create a space where every child knew their gift, and then they could share that gift with their community. Our school was about empowering the hearts of every child. When we came together, I didn't know who didn't have a good morning that day. I didn't know who was yelled at the night before, or didn't sleep in their bed or in their home, or who was worried about evictions, or who was under abuse, or who just, was just saying, maybe this is the last day. But I knew when we came together, they were all going to share love, get a hug. They were going to be connected. Let's not forget that our students are more than test scores and graduation rates, more than growth metrics and achievement scores, that they're all having the same four needs, their heart needs. And if we create spaces and this is the work that we do, I am sure that this will empower us all. I'm very passionate and proud of the work that they were able to do. I would like to conclude with a little story, just to remind teachers and educators of just that power that they have, even in the times when they feel like they don't. And it's the story of a stone. This stone was cut from a quarry in Tuscany in 1466. And the people who procured this, they wanted to put it on top of the basilica, the dome, and they wanted a masterpiece carved. And they were so excited about the work, so they went to the best sculptor of the day, and they said, "You are the best sculptor, most accomplished sculptor of the era. Could you carve us a masterpiece from this stone?" And the sculptor looked at it, he inspected it, and he said, "This stone is of poor quality. I cannot do anything with it. And he rejected the stone. 5 years later, a student of Donatello came along, and the purchaser of the stone came to him and said, "Could you cut us a masterpiece from this stone? It has been rejected once, but you were a student of the great Donatello. Surely you could do something with the stone." And the sculptor begins to hammer away at it, and he can fashion out some legs, but it's chipping away very inconsistently, and the proportions are not correct. And he says, I've tried, but this is poor quality stone. I can do nothing with it. Twice the stone has been rejected. The stone sits out in the elements for 20 years, to the wind, the rain, the snow, rejected, forgotten. Then comes along a 26-year-old artist. Now, something is different about this artist, because he sees himself as a scientist. He doesn't take the same tools into the different situations. Matter of fact, he invents tools. He's a tool maker. As the medium changes, so does the tools. So they go to him and they said, young artist, we heard that you have an innovative way of working with mediums. This stone has been rejected. It is set out for 25 years and no one is able to do anything with it. It's very expensive marble. It's been rejected twice. Maybe you could do something with the stone. And that artist says, I saw an angel in the marble and I carved until I set it free. That artist was Michelangelo. And the work that he did is arguably the most wonderful masterpiece in sculpting history, the David. Why do I say this story? It's because Michelangelo was never disconnected from his why. Vision, I saw the angel. Mission, I carved. Outcomes, my why was to set it free. How many of our students are still trapped in the stone, rejected once, twice, maybe more? It's that teacher that has the ability, like Adler said, to release that potential power and free them, to liberate them, to turn them from rejected stone into masterpieces. But it's through being connected to their why. In that book, I lay out the strategies and the process from getting that student from just a seed of an idea to an empowered student. Not only does this come from the research, but it comes through stories that I've seen firsthand in my school. Speaking of firsthand stories, I'd like to leave you with a story of a teacher who, during an observation of her classroom, I noticed that they weren't talking about the school's objective. Now, the standard of the day was full of education speak and wonderfully written, but they weren't talking about that. The student had asked the teacher, "Why are we learning this? Matter of fact, why do you even come here to teach us? I mean, this stuff doesn't make sense." Teacher looked at me like I was going to answer, and I kind of looked down and said, "This is your classroom." So she went ahead and she answered it. It was her answer, her response to the student's question that inspired a poem for me that I would like to conclude. Is, may I pose you a question? Asked the student of the teacher. Why do you work so hard to make us better than we were? Now, you were hired to teach us lessons so that we could pass some tests, but most times we don't even listen to you, and we surely are not doing our best. Yep, you keep coming back day after day. What makes you persist when others let the chips fall as they may? The teacher paused for a moment to consider the question at hand. Let me put this in a way that you would understand. There's an aspect of teaching that you do not know. To you, this is a classroom, but to me, it's an art studio. Like a painter with a brush can bring a canvas to life, like the sculptor improves the stone, with hammer and knife. I see and uncover the gifts inside you so that one day your gifts will give others value. See, great artists have great vision. They can see through life's storms. With their hands, they have tools, but it's their heart that transforms. In my hands, I hold your future, like the gardener with the flower. That's the secret to my strength. My why is to be empowered to empower. I would like to say to all those education leaders, to those teachers, those who are wondering what our why is and how can we be empowered to change the lives of others. How do we find that passion? Just remember that empowered people empower people. So stay empowered, stay encouraged, because our children need you. Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate this, and it's been a great time with you all. And if there are any questions, I'll let David take over. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. We have, I'm sitting here, I usually have a lot of questions of my own, and now I sat there and just listened. So that was really great. I appreciate it. I'm gonna wait and see if some people want to have any questions. I'm gonna pull up my screen here so we have a couple of things to announce. I did have one thing while we're waiting. Let me see. One of the things that you said is, for teachers that see themselves as having an empty tank, that, you said something about students that I think teachers could benefit from. And it was that idea of knowing what is good about you. And I know that I when I was teaching, did walk into those classrooms sometimes where teachers, you could see that they didn't feel like there was a lot of good about them, and that showed in the students. Is there something that, with teachers to start with, that you help teachers start with? Hey, this is how you start to know the good about you, how you get better, start filling that tank back up again.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is to understand, what we're supposed to be teaching, right? I talked with teachers yesterday, and had a group of department heads, and I said, Dr. Rawls, this sounds all wonderful, but what am I going to do about this kid asleep in my class, or the kid won't even log on, or I just feel defeated because I have students that won't even log on or won't pay attention or sleep. So what do you do in that case? And I said to them, let's draw a circle of all, let's do a pie chart of all the students that we are not engaging. I said, what you'll find is that there are three kinds of students in there. There's some that can't do. And they say, yeah, I agree. And the question is, do you provide for them extra opportunities so that they can be successful? So for the can't do's, you say, you know what, young Johnny, we use Johnny a lot. Little Johnny, I need to see you after school. I need to see you before. I'm having a online tutoring session. I think you should join in on that one. Because for the kids that can't do, the kids that are in that circle, you'd be amazed at just how much just an extra chance at it would mean to them. But they say, no, I get it now. That's one of those things that refuses. So for those that can't do, did you at least cover that enrichment opportunity? Mm-hmm. There's the ones that won't do, right? They're sleeping in your class and not coming to school. They say, yeah, what do you do for that? I said, well, they're disconnected students. I said, they're like the student that asks, why do we learn this? They're dropping out and they're looking for their why. Did we take that opportunity to learn their why? Did we take the opportunity to learn, what's just important to them? Sometimes it's another class that they're all excited about, and it's just this class where they're missing the connection. What's interesting is that we as humans are very interested when people are interested in us. Mm-hmm. Think about what our schools ask for our students. Give me your academic scores. Give me your attendance. But what is given to that child in return? I met a student 2 days ago. He's living in an abandoned building. When he shows up to school, he's supposed to fill out a worksheet he hasn't turned in. What if our first question to this student was, how can we help you? Versus, where is my work?
Mm-hmm.
It's a disconnect there. And just by asking, how can I help you? Could lead to a conversation about this kid is homeless.
Yeah.
And that's what brings us to that third group. I wish I knew. So you have can't do, won't do. But by asking, how can I help you? You can get to that group of, I wish I knew. I wish I knew this student was homeless. Because now I know why he's not logging on. And I can get services behind them. So just by having that conceptualization behind these three types of students, can't do, enrichment, won't do, connection, I wish I knew, services.
Mm-hmm.
It puts the power back in the hands of the teacher.
Yeah, that's a really powerful statement, because that gives those teachers who clearly see that every day, a starting point, because they do see all those the different students in their rooms. We did have a question that came across. Would you recommend any piece of literature for a school leader to read to assist in empowering students and staff?
Oh, that's a toss-up. I would recommend my book.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, there are a lot of works of literature out there that would help. To me, I base my work in Alfred Adler's understanding of just people's motivations. For me, this is a behavioral science issue. It's not so much a curriculum and delivery issue. So remember, if you look at the literature, you have curriculum and instruction, but you have teaching and learning. It's that the teaching and learning piece that we don't get, that's connection. And connection of two people is just understanding the psychology of them. So I really focus a lot on Alfred Adler's work, but it's very, there's a lot of academic writing, but he talks about how to get to people's motivations, how to get the why. Simon Sinek does a great job. We'll start with why as well, but in my book, I give kind of some educational, practical examples of connecting with a child's why. You get their attention, they'll work harder for you. And that's my goal, where the students are working harder for their success than you are.
Excellent. And as far as your book is concerned, they can get it from the website heartedllc.org.
Yep, it's available on Amazon as well, or through our publishers, Youthlight.
Okay, great.
And if you're attending the conference, I'll be giving kind of some tenets away in the book as well. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, and that's a good point to mention. That's a good segue. If there are any other questions, you can go ahead and post them. Post them now for those of you who are online still, and so go ahead and post them if you want to ask any other questions. I am going to kind of do an outro here, so I wanted to thank Dr. Ross. Let me see if I can pull my camera up here so you don't have to sit there smiling for everybody the whole rest of the time. Let me see here. There we go. And one more button. All right, there we go. Yeah, so if you are, again, if you're still with us, thank you, Dr. Ross, and everyone who's able to join today. It's really important that we keep these conversations going. And I know that Dr. Ross' organization, Hearted LLC, and Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence are ready to help do that. I think the Where is it? There you go. As part of this series, this is also leading up to the Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence Conference. We want to make you aware of the exciting offer for registrants and attendees. If you registered after this one, we had 3 different series. So after this, we're going to do the drawing for maybe a couple different free registrations to the 21st annual conference, which would normally be held in Orlando. Unfortunately, because of all the COVID concerns and things like that, it will not be there, but it's going to be virtual, and there's going to be over 40 schools or districts are represented by 40 different speakers, one of them being Dr. Ross. All of them sharing insights, best practices, and offering an opportunity to network with like-minded professionals around the country. You heard Dr. Ross mention in the beginning the network that Blue Ribbon Schools has been able to create, and this conference is a big part of that as well, and being able to reach out to like-minded educators, leaders in education who are doing the kinds of things that Dr. Ross is talking about. After we finish this series again today, we'll do that registration, we'll do that drawing, and we'll send out to those of you who win be notified via email. I wanted to thank Megan Lipinczyk, who's on the call, Allison Max and Christina Armstrong from ScreenBeam, from our ScreenBeam team for their support in all this. Also want to thank Dr. Judy Fields from Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence for bringing all of us together, and thank you finally to you, Dr. Ross, not only for your time today, but for all the work that you are doing to support schools and students around the country. If you want more information about Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence, please go to blueribbonschools.com. You can see that website here, or you can email if you want directly to talk with Dr. Fields about some of the things that they're doing. You have her email there, judy@blueribbonschools.com. And for the conference, the link is also on the screen, blueribbonschools.com/conferences, if you're interested in finding out more about that. If you would like more information about backwards planning the modern classroom, some of the things that we talk about at ScreenBeam, or about understanding the true cost of a modern classroom, you can contact myself or Megan, and our contact information is here. Or you can go to screenbeam.com to request a free trial and take a look at the resources that we have available for educators and for education. That's all I have for today. I don't see, let me see, was there another question that came in here? I don't see one, but that's all I have for today. Thank you again for those of you who joined us. We appreciate your time. This session is recorded, and it will be sent. You will have a link sent out to you if you want to go back and share this as well. But Dr. Ross, I'll unmute you real quick, and thank you again so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it and look forward to hearing from you in December.
Thank you, David. Look forward to seeing you in December.
All right. Everyone, hope you have a great rest of your week, and have a great day.